The personal connection. The personal connection.
The personal connection.
The Personal Connection Podcast. The show where we explore the importance of the personal connection and how this translates into business. Discussing the topic with leading professionals to help you unlock the reach your company can have. The Personal Connection Podcast, brought to you by Emotive. One chance to interrupt, make it count. Imagery that instantly connects.
So we're back today with the Personal Connection Podcast, and I'm delighted to bring on someone who's become a real good friend of mine through this whole crazy lockdown and online meeting world, Sonya Farrell from BabaBaboon. Now, we met at a BNI meeting, and if it wasn't for the fact that everything had moved online, we wouldn't have met. So there's definitely something to be said for this whole situation. Now, the reason I wanted to bring Sonya onto the podcast is everything that we talked about when we had a meeting was so in sync with each other and about understanding the importance of story and people first and trying to get that connection forward. So I'm excited to see where this chat could go, because Sonya's got an amazing history with the work that she's done. And this could go anywhere. So Sonya, mate, welcome to the show. And let's see what nuggets of information we can leave everyone with by the end of this chat.
Let's do it. Go on, Stuart.
Cool, mate.
Glad to be here.
Thank you very much, mate. Thanks for joining me. So, connection, people, story.
Yeah.
Story sells. People remember stories. But is that something that can be used by every business to get themselves out there and get themselves remembered, you know, from what you do within your job?
I think so, yeah. Because for me, finding that story behind the business basically helps people to connect, to relate, and people would probably understand the business as well a little bit more if they understand the people behind it. And that's what we find. So delving into them backstories is what we specialise in, really, and how we help that business to shine in the media and also to their clients or customers.
I like the sound of that, because you're immediately then going on to the backstory about the people, and it's the people that matter, and it's because, yeah, people do buy people, they buy into people. Yeah. And even if it's a massive corporation, you've got to find a way of making that human touch there, you know, putting everything people first, product and service second. That's how my mind works anyway.
Yeah, I mean, human interest stories always relate, you know, and people attach themselves to human interest stories. So if you can make the business or show the business in a human way, then I find that people do relate to that more and want to know more and are more interested in what product or service they are selling, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just trying to, I guess, sometimes get people to actually think like that and think outside the box rather than just thinking about sales and selling and advertising techniques. Because, a lot of them don't work, do they? And that's the point. You've got to be smart with what you put out there.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, it's also, I believe as well, and what we've seen with clients, it does help to grow the brand, like you say, and showing the news and the positive news as well behind the brand. People are, so I'm well informed, are more likely to buy from a brand which associates itself with that positivity, and also that, like you say, that history of what's behind the business and why they're there, how they started, you know, what their passions are, what their skills are, and who they basically help or even support as well in the community.
Yeah, definitely. And I think shouting about things can sometimes be a really cool way of, you know, things not to do with the business, but things that you believe in and that you do can be a great way to find a synergy with people as well, can't it? As you say, so whether it's you're doing some crazy thing like I did last year, you know, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, or you're going off and doing a big cycle trek or something, all to raise awareness and something. If you can put that story out there, but it's also raising the profile of the business, then you're doing everything from a credible point. I think that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're being open. You're being open as well, you know, to who you're serving, basically. And again, it all helps the general public, or whether it's a B2B audience, you are attracting in a different way. And it is, especially nowadays with the ever expanding digital world that we live in, you know, that niche does need to come to the fore. And like you say, the nature and the personalities behind the business, if that personality can stand out more, then the business will stand out more. and relate to a different audience, a wider audience.
Definitely. And I think you've mentioned obviously the digital platform and where everything is now. But it's important to make sure you carry it through every stream of your communication as well, isn't it? So for me, one of the things that really sold well on my wedding business was when I put a video together of random photos and video snippets from what we did during the year. So it was nothing to do with weddings, nothing to do with me as a photographer. It was to do with me as me, going away in the camper van, lying in a hammock, going on walks with the wife sort of thing. But people related to that because it was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. I want to do that. And a groom put it the best way ever when he said, I wanted to find a photographer that I wanted to go for a beer with. Mm-hmm. So we made that human connection from looking at what I was putting out there. And it's, if you can tie that in all the way through, so yes, it's your social media, but it's also, as you've already hinted towards, it's your press coverage as well, isn't it? You've got to be smart and get yourself out there in multiple different ways.
Multiple ways, especially now, like you say, everything's changed so much over the years and it will continue to change. Especially with all, the social media platforms, they're evolving all the time. Imagery is obviously very important as well. Like you've just said, using lifestyle images there of yourself. Again, people can relate to that and you've already had that feedback. I myself, in the work that I do with the community news and everything, people have come more and more to relate to us because of all the positivity that we share. But because of I'm just me. And I sort of listen, and as well, whether that's with somebody in the community or a charity or in a business, I sit and listen and find out what their issues are or what they're trying to achieve. And then we help them to elaborate on that, to show their story. And it all does come down to, well, who are you? Who are you and what is your business about? What's your charity about? Why are you doing this? Why do you want to shout about this? And this is how we can help, is how we do it.
So obviously that's with BabaBaboon, isn't it? And I loved it when I heard the reason behind the name. So come on, share it with the listener. Why is it called BabaBaboon?
Yeah, so again, we wanted to be different.
Always.
To stand out, like I say, you need to be different in what we do. Yes, we do offer PR and comm services, but we are unique because we have our own positive online media platform. So everything that we do is our little hub is babababoon.co.uk,
right?
As well as working with other media, but we have our own hub, which is the website, the platform. And that hub, basically, we have communities using us, we have businesses using us, and we have charities using us. And that platform is used to raise awareness and also to let everybody know what's going on throughout Staffordshire. So, like I say, we wanted to be different. I always wanted a character. We didn't want to isolate any areas either as such and be associated with any particular
so not a geographical thing.
Yeah. So we didn't want to be restricted in that way. So again, everything that we do, you take all of that into account. Coming into our hub, our platform, we ended up going from the word boon, a thing that is helpful or beneficial, and Baba is our friendly baboon with that helping hand.
Love it, mate.
And that's what we are.
Super. But it is that helpful hand. I think that's the key thing, that you are trying to make a difference. You are trying to help. And whether it's community, whether it's businesses, whether it's PR services, it's putting that hand out there and guiding someone along the path. Because, I mean, for instance, if I was going to go to press with something, I wouldn't have a clue where to start. I wouldn't have an idea of what to do. And even when you're making an investment, you want to make sure it's right and you get a return. And that's why you need someone in your corner to, literally take your hand and guide you through it. And then now we've met and now I know your background and the experience that you've got in journalism and everything and the connections you've got. I know that you'd be a safe hand. And I think it's finding that sometimes is really important for businesses.
Yeah, I think, it can be quite scary, especially if you've never done any PR before or you're worried about the bad headlines or negative headlines and having a backlash and anything. But that's where we come in to ensure and to protect whatever content that we assist with goes out in the positive and in the right manner and basically gets that story across and the main point of what a business is trying to highlight, whether it's a new service, a new product, an expansion, like I say, any charity work or anything like that. There's so many stories which can all be told from a business perspective and also from a charity perspective, because we work with a lot of charities as well. So there's various angles in which we help to identify and ensure that they are told in that positive light, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be quite interested in just delving into sort of the way that you think about it and the way that the mind of, whether it's the baboon or whether it's your mind that comes through. Because when I'm working with a client, especially if I'm trying to bring together a narrative through video, I'm always trying to be like, right, okay, why? What difference do you make? Why do you do it? Why does it matter? Why should anyone care? And really, really pushing them, rather than giving me the normal corporate drivel that it's like, oh yeah, just download that off our website, it's great. And it's like, no, it's not, because it doesn't speak to anyone. It doesn't speak to me. And if it doesn't speak to me, it sure as hell isn't going to speak to someone who's bombarded by stuff online. And so I'm always like, okay, let's pick out a character. Let's almost find where you want to make a difference to them, not you, and focus everything then around that person. Because I find when you do that, you get a real natural story and you can actually talk to that person as well. It's a lot easier. So yeah, for you, is it a similar sort of thing, or is it, am I totally off the wall here?
No, it is. It is. And some clients do just want a straightforward press release, and that's fine. It depends on what, you know, what the angle of the story is. But yeah, we do like to, I love to get inside someone's head, and I can ask quite a lot of questions when I'm working with someone, but I do say there's a very good reason and the method in my madness.
Okay.
So yeah, I do like you'd like to find that creative angle, and there's various ways of doing that about when you start interviewing somebody. But also a lot of people or may not realize there's a story there. They'll say something and I'm like, whoa, step back, step back. What did you just say? And it, you know, that can be anything. It could be about a member of staff who was basically even turned their life around, who's been homeless, for example, who's been living on the streets or was living on the streets for 10 years, is now like their main staff member as a manager who's managing a team of 10 people or something. You know, that's an achievement. And that's the way that their organization has helped to change somebody's life. So them sort of stories also, you know, I try and dig out them sort of stories because they all, again, help other people to relate to that organization. And also not just a business audience, another business audience, but the general public audience as well. And then that also says to others that organization really does care and listen and gives people a chance, an opportunity. So yeah, there's various ways. That was just sort of one example that, you know, we can go into. But even achievements of the business owner. Some of these business owners have got amazing stories, but they don't think it's a story.
Because it's just them.
Is.
Yeah.
Whether it's been a passion, whether they've been made redundant, and then, you know, it was a dream that they've decided to do now. We've got somebody coming to BabaBaboon this week who we are going to be developing that relationship, who's always had a dream for music. And he's finally decided to go into music PR.
Okay.
And